Hey guys, and welcome to Unit 7, Part 5. This is our second to last video for this unit. In this unit, we're going to talk about different perspectives with personality, but then also how we test our personality. So first off, we're going to talk about personal, logical, and life story perspectives, focusing on just your life history or your life story. So Henry Murray is the person who kind of created this personology, and that was just the study of the whole person. And his first profile was actually Hitler, and he predicted that he was going to commit suicide just based on his characteristics. Motives are largely unconscious. There is a need for achievement, affiliation, and a need for power. There is a thematic apperception test, or the TAT test, that focuses on different parts of your personality, and it's a projective test that we even still use today, but it's used for revealing individual perception of mainly interpersonal relationships, so how people react with others within their need for achievement, affiliation, and power. David Winter, that should say State of the Union address, said that these different presidents could be judged as less successful or more successful, or could have a scandal just based on their achievement, their power, and their affiliation. Life story approach. So Dan McAdams kind of followed in the footstep, developed a life story approach to identity. There is an intimacy motivation. We want warm interpersonal encounters for our own sake. However, there is research that shows that college men scoring high on intimacy have better health and happiness 30 years later. Psychobiography is applying personality to one's own life. And so our social cognitive perspective is our conscious awareness, beliefs, goals, and expectations, and how we apply them in social instances. We use reasoning, beliefs, reflection, all that fun stuff. And this, again, he's a repeat, but mainly was coined by Albert Bandura, which dealt with reciprocal determinism, which is just our behavior, environment, and cognitive factors interact to create our personality, who we are. Again, with observational learning, we learn things by watching them, but that can tie into how we behave, how we respond to different things. And again, the time where we're learning the most is when we're so little. So those things go with us through life. Personal control, important for performance and well-being. We do have our internal and external locus of control, which help shape our personality. And then self-efficacy is the belief that one can master a situation and produce a change. So whether it's solving problems, a job, if you believe that you can do something, then you will. Gordon Allport did come up with our trait perspective, which Walter Mischel criticized. The one thing you do need to know on this slide is CAPS, Cognitive Affective Processing Systems, a model that describes our thoughts and emotions in the world. We tend to be more stable over time rather than in different situations, because typically we deal with these same repeated behaviors in different instances. But Walter Mischel dealt with the delay of gratification theory, which you kind of see this with cookies. Like, hey, if you do all of this stuff, I'll give you 5 cookies. Evaluating the social cognitive theory contributions, focusing on interactions, criticisms to concern with change in the situation. Then we have biological perspectives. Brain damage can affect your personality or change it. And brain responses do correlate with our personality. Hans Eysenck came up with the reticular activation system theory, which some of the things he found were extroverts and introverts have different baseline levels of arousal. Extroverts wake up under aroused, where introverts wake up at optimal arousal levels, which is kind of interesting. Jeffrey Ray, reinforcement sensitivity theory. So just some of our different brain areas react differently. Behavioral activation systems. We seek different behaviors, where our behavioral inhibition systems, we avoid certain behaviors. With the biological perspectives, with transmitters, the growth of dopamine is stimulated by warm caregivers. So if those that showed nurturing and care when you were little, if they responded quickly when you were upset or hurt, you have higher levels of dopamine. Where those who were more neglected or didn't have that, there's less serotonin, and that could lead to more aggressive behaviors or even depression. Behavioral genetics is the study of inherited underpinnings of the behavioral characteristics. There are twin studies that reveal that there are genetic influences on the big 5 traits, which we will go into. However, we find that most traits are influenced by multiple genes. We can tie personality to animal learning, brain imaging, and just through evolution. There are few criticisms, like biology could be the effect but not the cause of personality, but you don't see a lot of research yet. One of the other controversies is with stability versus change. Traits tend to be stable by definition, and increase during adulthood. But think about these 3 questions. Do you think personality can change through a person's life? What were you guys like 5 years ago? Think about like early middle school. And then if you have a friend who wants to be more outgoing, what would your advice be? How would you get that person who's typically a shy person to be more outgoing? So then we're going to go into some of our test personality assessments, and these help characterize what your personality is. You need to make sure you're aware of social desirability. So don't just pick the answers that you think other people would want. You want to really, really make sure you answer appropriately and honestly. And these tests you guys will do. So the MMPI is the most widely used personality assessment. We have the NEOPIR, or the NEOPIR test that looks at the big 5 factors, which again we're going to go into later. We have projective tests, which you guys seen like the inkblot test, like what does this look like? And I'll give you guys an example of this in class. Again, thematic appreciation test, ambiguous pictures viewed at one time, what does that look like? Researches on people's needs. Here's the inkblot test. You see this used all the time. The TAT test, what do you think is happening here? Really makes you think more outside the box. There can be other assessments like just observing behavior, having peers rate you, polygraphs, brain imaging, and then personal health and wellness. Conscientious, most important to longevity and health. You need personal control, lower your stress, figure out how to cope with stress, make sure you have healthy behavior changes, self-efficacy, positive life changes, quit smoking if you smoke, lose weight if you're overweight, because that can be a detriment to your health. Optimism, let it be optimistic person, or pessimistic sometimes can make that be a more stable or more internal stress on yourself. Personality traits can be correlated with health. We have our type A and type B pattern behavior, where type A are more like hard-driven, impatient, hostile, which can lead to heart disease. Or our type B are more relaxed and easygoing, which can be related back to good health. And then subjective well-being, a person's assessment of their own positive effect relative to negative effect. Negative emotions are the core trait of neuroticism, which is David Watson's theory. There is research where extroverts are more happier than introverts, even when introverts are left alone. And knowing personality can allow you to have more positive outcomes, which you guys can determine whether you think that's true or not. But that's all for this portion, and I'll see you guys in the last section.